Hello and welcome back to another episode of TACHES Teaches. I'm Tash, and in today's video I'd like to show you how you can take a simple chord progression, and by splitting it into its individual notes and then affecting those notes separately, we can create slightly more interesting rhythms for our chord progressions than if we were to just keep all of the notes on one instrument. So without further ado, let's jump right in and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Now, I've just made a very simple chord progression here, an F major 7 to a C major 7. Which gives us a slightly nice little Lydian feel. But what we're going to do is we're going to take those notes separately and we're going to say take the two lowest ones and we're going to make that our bass. The two next ones are going to be on another instrument, the two next ones will be on another instrument, and finally these last two will be on another instrument as well. So let's just have a quick listen to what we've got. Nice chords, but it would take quite a lot of work, I think, to get that to be sounding as interesting as I want it to if we were to keep it on just one channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this so we have 4 versions of it. I'm just going to deactivate that so we don't lose it. And I'm going to, first of all, just make the bass channel this one. So we'll call that bass. We'll call this low mid. We'll call this high mid. And we'll call this high. Ooh. Cool, and on this one, let's now take, let's get rid of those two and those two. And for this guy, let's get rid of the bottom two. And we have a little bit of a choice here. I think I'm just going to keep the top note as just being a straight held note. So if we listen to them individually now, or if we listen back as they were, we have exactly the same sound, but we now have them on separate instruments. So the first thing we could do is we could give them sort of different arpeggiations. So let's in fact just group this, and then we'll call that idea 1, and we'll duplicate this down and call that idea 2, and we'll save that for after. Let's first of all just put an arpeggiator on the bass channel, and I'm just going to do da-da, da-da. So we're basically going to play 2 notes, gap, 2 notes, gap, 2 notes, and then it will cycle back again. So let's listen to what we have already. Now I'm going to shift this down, so we've got a slightly bassier sound here, and I'm going to increase a little bit of this EG. Nice. Now let's add a different arpeggiator for the other two. So this one, this low mid one, I'm going to do a gap of 2 in a note. And occasionally we are going to have notes falling in the same space, but this will help us create sort of a bouncing rhythm. So let's see. Let's add a different arpeggiator for this high arp, or this high mid. We'll do just on the offbeats, I think. That could work. Let's see what this sounds like. And on this high one, why don't we do just 16th notes really short. So we'll make this. And just for the hell of it, let's also just put a kick drum in so we can make this a bit more interesting to listen to. Pick one I've starred. Cool. Let's throw a little kicky in here. And what's cool as well is that you can now see that if we were to copy these across and try and extend this pattern a bit on this bass, for example, we've got an F major 7 and we've got a C major 7. What other notes have we still got here? We've got an A, C, and an E. So if we put this to maybe a D, let's see what that sounds like. And obviously these ones can now do something a bit more interesting as well. Let's put that happening there. We can also with this bass now play with the octaves, so we're shifting that bass note up every time we get a note. Makes sense to put that in mono. let's take this high one and we'll make it so that it does, let's do an odd pattern on this. So we'll go for 5 steps and we'll just miss the middle one. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's duplicate this pattern and see if we can change this as well. Bearing in mind this was again what we started with, and we now have something infinitely more groovy. Now there's a lot of fun to be had with the arpeggios there as well. You could also say on some of these increase the amount of octaves that we're getting, and you could then start to add sort of automation on these. Whoa, look at that. What is going on there? I hope you guys saw that. Let's make this a 3-step sequence that increases the decay on it. Let's do a note counter on this one as well. We'll do this at 5 though. And we'll do this to increase this. Let's set this to 7 and we'll do something slightly different, maybe on the filter. Smoothly moving. And of course we could then bring the chords back in around it, so let's put this on keys. Let's have lounge loads that play that. And again, even if you do then layer it with the original chords, what you've made is something that little bit more interesting. We could also try looking here, and instead of this being a continuous pattern, we could try that shifting down and make that shift up. So let's see what this sounds like. Let's do a step sequence here to play with that shape, and maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of the filter as well. Very cool. Okay, so that's one method of playing with it, is using arpeggiators and sort of fucking with the rhythm of the things individually. But another quite cool thing we can do, if we remove this, is we can use audio loops to dictate the envelope of the MIDI itself. So I'm just going to color these something maybe blue. And I've just got to change the outputs of these to have no output, because we don't want to hear what's on these channels. We just want them to be playing, but not coming out to the speakers. So let's do no output. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mute these guys first. So we're just listening to the bass. Once again, I'm going to bring that down an octave. And I'm going to bring the filter down to a point where we can hear the bass, but we're not really getting any of that nice toppiness to it. And I'm going to search for something, maybe a bass line in here with a rhythm we like. And again, we don't need to care about the sound itself. We're just interested in the rhythm. Now, I actually quite like that one, but not for this one. So I'm just going to drag that there. Let's find something with a... I quite like that one as well, but also not for the bass. So I'll drag that one there. Come on, give us one. I feel like we're almost there. Let's just find something that's a bit rhythmic. I don't want any of these stupid basses I've got in my samples. Maybe if I just search for bass. Oh god, not for me, thanks. Okay, that's perfect. So now we just need to find one more loop that we like. So I'm going to search for a top loop and see if there's anything in here that's defined and rhythmic enough that we want that to be the envelope of our sound. Now, they don't have to play all the time. They can be... Let's, in fact, try that. Let's try that as our top. So, okay. We now have this bass that's playing, but we're not hearing anything. This one looks to be perfectly in time on the grid, so we don't need to adjust anything there. But what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take a modulator on the bass itself, and I'm just going to take the audio sidechain, and I'm going to pick that audio 2 channel, and and I'm just going to use this modulation to open up the filter itself. I'm going to bring the rise down, and I'm going to increase the amount of there. So you can now hear that that bass has a defined pattern that, if I remove this, isn't doing anything. It's following the shape of this bass line to create the feeling of this one. And if I wanted, I could bring the filter all the way down and increase this, and then your rise and fall will be how long it takes to, like, the attack and decay, basically. If I bring this quite short, we got stuttery. Nice, so we've got our bass line happening now. Let's now add something for this next layer. So I'm going to mute that bass, and we've got this pattern here. So let's bring the filter down all the way. And we don't have to use a filter, of course. You can automate any particular aspect, but I'm using the filter because it's a nice way to craft out, just craft out a rhythm that's very particular. So let's now use that to automate this, and we'll bring the rise down. Let's listen to that in the context with the bass. Very cool. Let's move on to the next one now. And it's actually pretty cool even without having any rhythm on that. I think it might be fine to just keep it as is, but I'll then show you another little cool thing. So if we'll take this audio... Oh, I need number 6 now. Did I pick the right one there? Yeah, audio 4. This now needs to be audio 6. Take the pre... and start the pattern. I'm going to find a different pattern to use for that one. Oh, and this is actually a perfect example of where it might be cool to just slice in place and then hard quantize everything. Now, if you were to actually play the audio of this, it would sound quite horrible because Bitwig isn't very good at shifting audio back in time. But because we're just using it as a signal, I think that will work fine. If we highlight all of these notes as well and just put a bit of a fade on it, so let's fade these in. That will also help our chords a little bit, because the shorter the sound, the better, because we can always increase the fall. Now let's just take this top loop, take the audio sidechain, take our audio 8, start the loop. I mean, that just sounds fantastic to my ears, at least. I'm going to do the same thing I did there. Let's bring back the original keys in. And of course, whatever patterns you put in here, you can radically change the style of it. If I move this now. let's take a conga loop, see if that doesn't do something quite cool for this top layer. Why don't we layer the two of these? In fact, let's get rid of the base of that. Let's get rid of the roots of these chords as well. We don't need that F and we don't need that C. And let's also just invert everything up.
Well folks, that's sadly all we have time for today, but I do hope that this video has been useful. If you enjoyed it, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe and smash that notifications button if you'd like to keep up to date with all of my future videos. In the meantime, happy Sunday and happy creating.